Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of Thinking Thursday. I'm your host, Bronwyn Lucas, and I am excited to be here with you tonight. Tonight, we are going to be talking about managing the COVID holidays. Now, if you're thinking I'm giving too much credence to COVID by calling it the COVID holidays, just hang on and you'll find out. So we always start off with some deep breathing just to relax, just to help us manage. And I encourage you that during these crazy, often stressful times of life, just stop and take some deep breaths. And it can be very beneficial if you find yourself a little stressed out at work, a little stressed out at home, a little stressed out because you're working from home and the kids are schooling from home, or just stress in life. Take time, breathe. So let's practice that breathing. What do we do to breathe? Well, if you've never done it with us before, you're going to breathe in slowly through your nose as I count to 4. And you'll breathe out through your mouth as I count to 4. Let's just try it. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. And one more for good breath measure. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully that took your stress down just a little if you were feeling stressful. And even if you weren't stressed, it's good to have just a little something to slow you down. So again, welcome to Thinking Thursday. And I want to let you know, and I'll remind you again at the end, that Thinking Thursday has its own Facebook page. And starting at the beginning of the year, we're going to broadcast from Thinking Thursday with Ms. B. That's Thinking Thursday with Ms. B. So I encourage you right now, go to that page and like it, and then come right back and listen. You can also share. And at the end, I will remind you again. As I said, we are talking about managing the COVID holidays. And holidays, man, it's December, and it has so much meaning. And December in and of itself can be a stressful time. This time last year, I talked about managing the holiday blues because so many people are just depressed and overwhelmed during these holidays. So we're going to look at just the holidays with COVID added on top, and what does that look like? But a fun fact, I want to start adding some fun facts, or when I do a serious topic, I'm usually talking about statistics, but today with the holidays, I wanted to add a fun fact. As I was putting this together and I was doing a red and green theme, I thought, why are red and green Christmas colors? That's just the way my crazy mind works. I need to know why things are the way they are. I'm a why kind of person. So I did lots of research, and I can go down a rabbit hole and travel there for a while. And so here's what I found out about Christmas and red and green. Red and green actually goes back to the Celtic people hundreds of years ago. And it was tied to the winter solstice tradition, which is also tied to our Christmas tree tradition. But what kind of berries? Hollies were thought to be beautiful, holly berries, and they brought good fortune. And it was the middle of winter when things were ugly and gray. So the beauty of the holly berries were tied to the winter solstice celebrations because they were bright red. Everything is kind of dull and gray, and they were from nature, beautiful. And red. And you had the green of the Christmas trees. Then I also read, and that tradition sort of went on for a while, and it just started to be there. But in 1931, an interesting thing happened. Coca-Cola introduced their Christmas ad, and it was said to be the first time there was thought to be this white man, fat and jolly, dressed in a red suit that was put forth as Santa. And that image of red, and it was red and green in the ad. I was able to pull up the original, photograph of the original ad. There was red and green in that ad. And as time goes on, though there were different just ties and connection to red and green. And now when we think about Christmas and think of colors, we think, there's that red and green that has been associated with it. The 1931 ad of Santa by Coca-Cola, it took a couple of decades to really catch on. And now it's ingrained in our psyche of that's part of what Christmas, the symbols of Christmas. But that one actually started as a Coca-Cola ad. Like I said, just fun fact about Christmas. So what I want to do is throw out some words here of what Christmas might mean. If you're on, I encourage you to hit the share button and either start a watch party or just share. Invite others in on the conversation. I am going to throw up some words. I see the first one already came up. Sad, frustrated, rage, depressed, happy, confused, anger, overwhelmed, at peace, disconnected, fear, family. All of these words can impact us and have us thinking right now, here and now. You can be frustrated, happy, overwhelmed, fearful, enraged, sad, depressed, angry, confused, disconnected, and at peace while you think about your family, while you miss your family, or while you're sitting in the middle of the room with your family, or while there's no family at all. All of these feelings are things that we can definitely feel, and we're going to address some of them tonight. But I encourage you, if you're in the chat and there's some other feeling words that may make you think, Denise says joyous, a good one. Because not all of our feelings are negative. And as you notice, I did not put only negative feelings. You can feel all of these things in one day. You can feel several of them at one time. So that is what we're going to address. Man, how do we manage this? How does this come about? What does this look like in the life of COVID? So you might ask, so what should I expect with my mental health right now? I'm looking at COVID, not sure how I should feel, not sure what's going on. So we're going to talk about that. One feeling you might feel simply is confusion. Why might you be confused? Well, think about it. As I said, the holidays generate feelings of depression a lot of times and negative feelings. You might be confused about how you should feel. You might feel confused about I don't even know what I feel. If you've never experienced this, consider yourself fortunate, but many people have been in situations where if you had to say, how do you really feel? The answer is, I don't know. I just don't have words for it. And this season right now, with holidays and COVID, may make you feel just confused. So for some people, you still want to decorate and do everything that you would normally do at Christmas because life goes on and you want it to go on. For others, it's why bother? Christmas for me was a time of celebrating with friends and family, and with all the shutdowns seemed like they're coming and my family's not going to be around. I don't want to do anything. I don't know what I should do. What should I do? I'm confused. Normal feelings because it's a confusing time. And you can find yourself like, I don't know what I want to do. But confusion, I want you to know, is normal. And so if you're feeling that way, it's okay. Because you do have to make a decision as to what do you want to do. So when you're stuck in that confusion, first know you are not alone. Lots of people are finding themselves confused in these COVID times because it just doesn't make any sense. And as we see that shutdowns may be on the way, there's predictions that there'll be a even greater surge because of people traveling Thanksgiving. And at about the time Christmas comes up will be the time we see the surge. So for a lot of people, another emotion comes up might be fear. But if you're feeling confused about what to do over the holidays, you're not alone. Sometimes people are right now feeling good. They're feeling happy. Life has been good. And you know what? They're feeling guilty about being happy. Don't. If things are going well with you in spite of everything, that's a good thing. It's okay to say, oh, okay, I am happy. I've talked to people during this time who, yeah, things are going really well. For me, it's working out. I know it's COVID, but it's brought my family closer together. Or I needed downtime and it's made me retool my business. So I'm glad. It's a good thing. I'm just happy. And if you are happy during this time, it's okay to have that feeling and know that I'm good. When people go through a situation where they're, let's say maybe it's a horrific accident and they are the survivor and many people died, there is something called survivor guilt. And they will actually feel bad about surviving or feel guilty that they did survive and others didn't. That's really what this happiness is for some people who are in this world of COVID. They are feeling guilty about feeling happy. And I'm telling you, don't. Because for some people, it forced their families to get back together. It forced their families to spend time together because the kids were home during the day at home, school at home, the parents were home, working at home. Everybody's under one roof. Yes, sometimes you get on each other's nerves, but you're all there. And they turned that lemon, those sour lemons that we're giving, into lemonade. So if you're feeling happy, it's okay. It is okay. And then, it's rare you have to tell somebody it's okay to feel good, but that is true. If you're in that position where things are going well and I'm okay, and it's okay to still be joyous during the holidays. But then there's fear. If you are on right now, can you think of some things that people might be afraid of? What might be making people feel fearful? Some of the things I can think of, it is the fear of the unknown. We don't know what this time is going to bring. What is going to happen? Is it going to be worse? Are we going to be in a lockdown? Or am I going to lose my job? But I work in a restaurant industry and it's looking like it's going to close up again. If they go back to 50%, if they go less than that, I'm going to get laid off. Those are legitimate fears. But when we let the fears take over us, wow, we are captured by fear and fear can paralyze. But the fears are real. There is just fear of the virus itself. I see another comment said, Connector says, I am so content and full of joy and that's good. That's another one. It's okay. Every feeling I'm saying, it is okay. Even if you're in that fearfulness. Now, I have an expression, and it's fear and faith cannot exist in the same space. Now, let me explain that because a lot of people think what I mean by that is if I'm fearful, then I don't have faith. No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can be in a space of fear or in a space of faith. And I think we go back and forth. Look at it this way. You can be a mother, a teacher, a sister, a daughter, or you're a husband, a brother, a boss, an employee. You're all those things. That all of those are you at any given time. But what are you walking in? Are you walking in this moment? Are you a father or are you an employee, a boss? Are you a mother or are you a sister? You walk, what hat are you wearing? So you choose, am I going to wear the hat of fear or am I going to wear the hat of faith? Just because that fear is taking over doesn't mean you don't have faith. It does mean at that moment fear is taking over, fear is in control, but it doesn't mean that, if I have fear, then my faith has gone out of the window and I am no longer a person of faith. No, it just means at that moment that fear is real. The fear is taking over. And just like that fear has taken over, you can allow the faith to take over. I operate in a Christian background. That is my faith system. And so for me, when I find fear taking over, and yeah, for me too, fear can take over. When I find fear taking over and I want my faith to be stronger than my fear, I have to have a scripture to hold on to. And so, you can have one that just fits your life and one that you hold on to. I remind myself that over 300 times in the Bible, you hear, fear not. And I say it's there that many times because God knew, oh, my children are going to be fearful. They're going to be scared of a little everything at any given time. So it's there to remind us, don't fear. So your fear and your faith can both be part of your life, but they're not going to exist in the same space. You have to decide, what do I want? Do I want my fear to be greater than my faith, or my faith to be greater than my fear? And times in your life, things will happen where the fear will be greater. That is just life. And when it is, doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Doesn't mean that you have turned your back on God. Doesn't mean any of that. It just means what it means. Your fear is really big at that moment. And when it becomes really big at that moment, it's okay. You have to find the space to say, you know what? Where's the faith? Come on back, faith. I need it back. That applies to this holiday, this COVID holiday season, as I call it. As I said, when we first start talking about fear, there is a lot of reason to be fearful. If you look at it just from a fear standpoint. But when you do, you have to stop and think, what does fear do for me? Is it comforting? Does it relieve my stress? Does it make me feel worse? Does it make the situation better? So you begin to weigh it out. And fear rarely makes a situation better. Generally, it's going to make it worse because you're stuck in that moment. And fear can be paralyzing. It is totally paralyzing. When you want to let go of that paralyzing fear, that's when the faith can take over. Even in these COVID times. I want to spend a little time here really talking about being anxious and depressed. As a therapist, I have seen more and more people feeling anxious and depressed. And I want to hang out here for a minute because it's really prevalent. As I said in the beginning, anxiety and depression grow during the holidays normally. Why? The holidays, in terms of depression, can remind us of people who are not here anymore. We miss them, especially if they're people who you would celebrate the holidays with. I'll give you a personal example. So this year I was one of those debating what I was going to decorate, because normally throughout the year I put up a little table decorations for Easter. And then when Easter's over, I leave it up. I put something up that, spring like, and I'll change this with just flowers or some kind of table centerpiece. And I would put them up, and I would have something up as a centerpiece for a different season. Then it changed throughout the year. Well, my child has chosen that table, the dining room table, he claimed it as his school. And you know what? Because he was doing great in school, I'm going to let it go. You got that spot on the corner table, it's working. So I never put anything up. Well, as Thanksgiving rolled around, it really hit me that I haven't done anything. So I recaptured half of the table and I decorated. So it was time for Christmas, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So I put my tree up. I normally put it up Thanksgiving weekend. That tradition started with my best friend who passed away earlier this year. So as I was thinking about putting up a tree, I thought about her. She was the ultimate decorator of Christmas. I can't even tell you how many Christmas trees she had in her house, because the living room had a tree, the dining room, the kitchen, her bedroom, every room had a tree. She loved decorating for Christmas. So much so that one year when I lived in the Dallas area before, was about to buy a house, the day that I was about to buy it, the sale went through, something stupid happened at closing. And I ended up moving into an apartment just because I needed a place to stay and I didn't like where I was living. And she knew that. And I said, no, I'm not decorating this year for Christmas because, I don't like that apartment. I don't like apartment living. I mean, it's a safe place, but I'll be moving at the first of the year as soon as it's 6 months lease up, blah, blah, blah. I just didn't want to be there. So she called me, and how your best friend, their basic schedule and they know yours. And don't you have a meeting or something on Thursday? I was like, yeah, I'm going to be out. Oh, well, she lived in Arlington. I lived in Duncanville at the time. And so I worked in Duncanville. So she said, I need to, can I just hang out at your place? Because I've got a meeting that morning and I got a meeting that afternoon and I don't want to go back home because it's not a long time. Oh, girl, you got a key? Go on. So that's what I thought was going on. Because, sure, somebody has to have a key to your house. Your best friend has one, so there's an emergency. No big deal. Well, what was really going on, she wanted to decorate my place. I came home. My whole apartment had been decorated for Christmas. And she did it because she didn't want me to be depressed at Christmas in a house with no decorations. So, and that was like in 2003. Since then, I have not missed decorating. So this year for me, in her memory or whatever, I just had to decorate. And it felt great. So my tree is up. Every little table in my house, the kitchenette table, the dining table, the coffee table, everything has Christmas stuff on it. And it feels good. So I could have been depressed about this holiday because, I could look at it, I'm just going to be here in Arlington. And no offense to all my people in North Texas. Arlington is, I love where I am because I'm where God needs me and wants me to be. But yeah, that's not where I would plan to spend my holidays. And I speak with a lot of people who are depressed because they have stories where things have happened and you're missing people. And I say turn it around. So there are times my friend and I would have been out shopping already. I have a wreath decorating party and ugly sweater party. Well, it all started with her when I lived here before. And so when I think about all the things I'm not going to be doing this Christmas because of COVID, I could be really sad and depressed because there is nothing normal about my holiday season. When I lived in Houston, my house was the party house. We celebrated Christmas. In 1 week was Christmas, my dad's birthday, Kwanzaa, and New Year's. Now, those all fell within a 7-day period, and each one had its own celebration, complete with its own decorations, all appropriate for whatever day it was. And all of that, and with all of that, none of that will be in my life this year. So for me, the externals are gone. And not having the externals can make you depressed. For some, it's just a sadness, a feeling of loss with so many people not in your life. I have worked with so many people recently who have lost loved ones this year. Not necessarily just to COVID, just people have died. Cancer, heart attack, car wrecks, murder. So many things have taken people's lives. So many people have people in their circle, their family, their circle who are struggling. And watching someone struggle can bring you down as well. And so the depression is real. There are real reasons. This is when I say, as a mental health professional, it is important to seek out help. You don't have to manage it alone. You don't. If you are feeling depressed during this time, understand it is a normal time without COVID that people feel overly depressed because this is just an ugly time and no one likes it. No one wants to go through these feelings, but they're real. They're yours. Own it. And the reason I always say own your anxiety, own your depression, own your sadness, if you own it, if it's yours, then you have a right to get rid of it. You have a right to keep it. You have a right to get rid of it. It is now yours. If you are one of those people who right now, you're depressed, it's real. You don't have to go it alone. There are mental health professionals out there who are trained, like myself, to help you manage through this time. And I'm not going to sit here and say that even that short journey I just told you about with my friend, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't want to cry through it, didn't feel some kind of way when I first thought about her and all the stuff we did. Even since I moved up here, our own traditions that we had already created in this 4 years of going to do this or that or decorating. All of these things can be very real. And for those of you you wake up and it's like all of a sudden you're like, I'm feeling bad today. I'm feeling depressed. It's real, and it can come out of nowhere. The grief of losing someone can come out of nowhere and have you feeling so depressed. I spoke with someone yesterday, just a friend, and she was saying, well, I'm not really depressed. I'm talking to her as a friend, but my therapist's mind is hearing everything she's saying. And so I said, really, you're not depressed? Well, give me a word to describe how you would express how you're feeling. Well, I'm sad all the time and I cry a lot. Well, it's kind of what people do when they're depressed. I said, one of the things is when we think about the word depressed, it's a bad word. If we're depressed, something's wrong with us. When it comes to our mental health, oh my gosh, if I am feeling bad in my mental health, it's something wrong with me. Now, if I'm feeling ill because I have a cold and I'm feeling bad, that's okay. If I have diabetes and I haven't managed it or it is managing me no matter what I do, it's okay. But if I'm depressed, well, that means I'm a bad person. No. Being depressed is part of your health. It's part of your mental health. Mental health is a disease just like diabetes. And we treat it that way. So if you're that person who grief has come in and you're feeling depressed because of the grief, if you're feeling depressed just because you're missing someone, just because you are anticipating a horrible holiday season, you won't have your work party, you won't have all your friends over, you won't travel. You found out your travel plans are canceled because you were going to travel anyway, but something external canceled your travel plan. So everything that you planned is gone. That's enough to make you feel depressed. If you find yourself for more than 3 or 4 days stuck in that space of depression, that's when you need to reach out and get help. Now, anxiety is another thing. I would say 50% of my practice right now is people dealing with anxiety. And it is not necessarily anxiety about COVID. It is anxiety because they have other just deep issues to manage with anxiety. So here's what happens in this time of COVID. If you already had some issues with anxiety, they are going to be magnified during this time, especially now with the holidays and with COVID. Why? Look at it this way. We already talked about the holidays causing anxiety and depression. We realize that COVID makes you anxious because it's just crazy. So if you have all this going on and you already had some underlying issues where you were managing depression and managing anxiety, and your anxiety stayed around a 5 or a 6 on that 10-point scale, with 1 being no anxiety and 10 being off the chain anxiety, and you lived at a 4 or a 5, and you add the holidays on top of that 4 and 5, you add the world of COVID on top of that world that at 5, you add just the atmosphere in our country right now on top of that, the racial tension, the political tension, you put all that together. If you lived at a 4 or 5, you probably are at a 9 or 10 right now, because there's so much going on that is making your anxiety grow. Just being in this time of uncertainty can make your anxiety grow. If you are one of these people who's feeling anxiety, I say the same thing I did about depression. Get some help. That is why, as mental health professionals, we are here. Talk therapy. For some people, it is medication. And when it comes to medication, some people think, you're weak, something's wrong with you if you need medication to manage your mood. As I said earlier, mental health is just part of your health. Think of it as a disease in your body. Something, and disease is really dis-ease, not at ease in your body. Something is not working properly. And so there's something in your brain that is not at ease. And we're going to talk near the end about some things to do with this, but I want to lay out some of the emotions as we go through. With all this going on, and you're feeling all of this, if you are feeling the anxiety, it's okay. Understand that that is an emotion that people are going through. But get help. Don't just stay in the moment of anxiety. Again, own it. Own it so that you can say, you know what, this is me, but I'm not going to live in it. So own it so you can work through it. Own it so you can walk through it. Own it so you can grow through it. But understand it's real. It is real. And as African Americans, we don't want to deal with our mental health. We are told it makes us weak, or we're led to believe we're weak. And if you have depression, you're just not spiritual enough. You need to go pray. There's something wrong with your prayer life. That's why you're depressed. If you're feeling anxiety, your prayer life's not good. None of that is true. None of that is true. Before we leave anxiety and anxiousness, let me talk about that, the physical side of that. Our emotions have a physical manifestation in our body. When it comes to anxiety, we can feel it. So for some people, their heart races. It's just like it won't stop beating. It's beating so fast, you feel like it's going to be out of your chest, and you don't know why. For some people, it's as if this gloom, this dark shadow just comes over your whole body, and all of a sudden you're feeling, I don't know why, I just feel bad. For some people, it's, I'm just having trouble breathing today. I don't know why. Whew. Or for some, I just can't move. I literally, I can't get up and move right now. I don't know what's going on. I need to get up. Oh my gosh. I'm worried, but I don't even know what I'm worried about. All of those can be signs of anxiety. So when you find yourself, or maybe you're just having feelings you don't get, talk to your doctor, talk to your medical professional and say, I just feel sometimes like I'm out of it. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I can't breathe sometimes. I feel like my heart is racing. I don't know what's going on. If you're feeling anything in your body, get help. Go to your medical professional and find out, is something wrong? So just managing your health, period. And as I said, mental, physical health, it's all part of your health. Managing that, you need to know what is causing that. And if you find out something's wrong, again, it can make you feel depressed just because you found out something's wrong. But let's learn to handle it, and that's what mental health professionals are here for. To figure out, what do we do? I've got all these feelings I don't know what to do with. It's time to find out. So let's talk about being at peace. We talked about a lot of, and I want to go back and look at some of, I think I want to go back. Well, I wanted to look at some of those emotions that we talked about in the very beginning. So I want to go back to look at them. Before we talk about what do I do, how am I going to be at peace? So let's get to that at peace moment. I am having a little technical difficulty. Okay, now it's letting. Well, I am not able to go back. Here I am. So let's look at some of the other words that came up in the very beginning. Oh. Wow, I am having major difficulty here, so we won't do that. because I can't get out of it. And if you're listening and not seeing it, what happens is on the visual presentation, we have a PowerPoint in the background, and I wanted to go back, and the PowerPoint didn't want to go back with me. So, let's see. When we looked at the words in the beginning, we had sad, frustrated, rage, depressed, happy, confused, anger, overwhelmed, at peace, disconnected, fear, and lastly, family. Although that's not an emotion, I put family there because it's something that's at the center of all we think and do so often. All of these words, as I said in the beginning, it is all of these words, all of them: frustration, fear, happiness, overwhelmed, at peace, disconnected, confused, depressed, sadness, rage. You can feel all of those in one day. You can feel all of those at one time, within 1 hour. All of them. So what do we do with it? We didn't talk about the rage. Why did I say rage? Because sometimes you have so many negative emotions looming in your body that, yes, you can actually feel like enraged by it all because you don't know what to do with it, and you're just, I can't take it anymore. You're in that space. That's where that anger comes out. Our anger comes out because I'm just mad at everything. I'm mad that I live in a country that, as an African American, I am dissed just for the color of my skin. I'm mad that I live in a country that, as a woman, I'm still a second-class citizen. So as a black woman, where do I fit? I'm angry because it doesn't make sense. I feel disconnected because in this COVID world, I'm not seeing the people I used to see. I'm feeling disconnected from life. I'm feeling disconnected from society. I'm feeling disconnected from the norm. And so because of that, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I have way too much going on, and I don't know what to do. So it's overwhelming when you don't know what to do. So what do we do with all of these feelings? Confusion, happy. We can feel good, and that's all right. And joyous, as we were saying. We may feel fearful, anxious, and depressed. And now we come to at peace. So I've told you a lot of negative feelings we may have. But let's talk about being at peace. Where does that come from? And how am I going to find peace after all that you just said? Lady, you've lost your mind. Well, when we think about being at peace, that's where our spiritual health can come in. That we are going to feel those feelings. And as I said, all of the feelings that I mentioned in one day, you can go through them all. And you can still end up with a feeling of being at peace. How do you get to that feeling of being at peace? For me, it is my spiritual side. It is my relationship with God. Understanding that the world is crazy. Right now, the world is crazy. And what do we do with it? I'm just now able to see some of the comments. We have several things. People are saying that, they feel joy and they're joyous. And people commented about fear and faith not existing in the same space. That's where that peace comes in. Am I going to walk in peace? Am I going to walk in fear? Or am I going to walk in faith? And there's a lot of reason to walk in fear because it's a scary world. Am I going to let anger take over? But if you do, remember this. Anger is one letter away from danger. Write it down. Write the word anger down and put a D in front of it. You've got danger. What does that mean? When you let your anger get in control, you are in danger. Think about that for a moment. when our anger, and you have reason to be angry. And I am not saying that. That again is why I say it is a good thing to have someone walk with you through this. And that's where mental health professionals are very important. So to be at peace, you begin to make a choice. You can look at the world and everything that I've talked about. And those things are real. Those emotions are real. But you can come to a point where I'm not going to let them take over. And you may not be able to come to that place by yourself. Again, seek help. But you get to a place where, you know what? Life's not pretty right now. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And it is a conscious decision to work to be at peace. And we begin every session working on some breathing. Begin to do some deep breathing 3 times a day. When you wake up, in the middle of the day, maybe for lunch, and when you go to bed at night. Why? Get your body accustomed to calming down. If you're stressed out, anxious, depressed, fearful, any of those feelings we talked about that we would consider negative emotions, do some deep breathing again. Take about 5 deep breaths and allow your body to calm down. The more you do it, the more accustomed to it you become, and you will be able to calm down more. So you work on that. You work on deciding, I'm going to be at peace, and guess what? It's work. You don't just wake up and say, well, I'm going to be at peace today, all is well. You say that, and then something knocks you in the face. So being at peace is a choice, but it's work. So you decide to be at peace. You work toward that. So our call to action today is this. Figure out what you're feeling and determine how it's benefiting you. If it's not benefiting you, that is, adjust and modify. What do I mean by that? Remember the first one we talked about was being confused? I don't even know what I should feel in this time of COVID. I don't know what I do feel. I don't know what I should feel. I just don't know. If you're in that I don't know zone, okay, be in the I don't know zone. But figure it out. Figure out what you're feeling. Figure out the feelings that are benefiting you and the feelings that are not benefiting you. And then you adjust and modify. By benefiting you, I mean, is that fear you're experiencing benefiting and making your life better? If you're feeling anxiety, is it benefiting and make your life better? If you're depressed, is it benefiting your life and making it better? If not, that's when you adjust and you modify. And to adjust and modify might mean getting some outside help. If you're feeling great, you're feeling joyous, you're feeling happy, how do you hold on to that? So you still need to figure out, what am I feeling? I'm feeling good. Great. What's making me feel good? I'm going to hold on to whatever it is. And to do that, we're going to talk about practicing self-care. When you do that, that means you figured out what it takes to have those feelings and emotions you want, and you're going to hold on to it. I had a comment about taking care of myself allows me to deal with the total person differently. When I'm at peace, it's better than anything money can buy. That's what Candace shared. So it is. So to adjust and modify, you might have to practice some self-care. And we did a whole session on self-care. You can go back and look at it on my YouTube channel, Thinking Thursday with Bronwyn. And find the one on self-care if you've forgotten how to do something with self-care, because that's important. That is how you're going to manage this time. It's okay to take care of you. You are worth it. You are totally worth it. Check on someone who may be isolating alone. There's still people who are not getting in contact. They may be older and have health issues, so they just don't want to get out. They may say, no, baby, I don't need you bringing those germs in my house, and you're good. And I understand it. So if they're alone, check on them. Maybe you can make a special dish for them and tell them you'll ring the doorbell and leave it right there for them to pick it up. Or just make a phone call. But as part of our call to action, I want you to Do something for someone else. Now, here's what happens. As you're doing good things for other people, you're going to feel good too. You do something good for them, it makes you feel good. So there can even be a little selfish moment on there. And lastly, mask up and be safe. Yes, mask up and be safe. Put on that mask. It protects you. It protects others. It may be uncomfortable, but I'd rather be uncomfortable than 6 feet under. So it's not just about you. It's about protecting everybody. For those of you who came on later, I want you to, while we're still on Facebook, as soon as you get off, go to Thinking Thursday with Ms. B, and that's MSB, and like that page or whatever it takes. It's another word it uses, but join that page because that is where Thinking Thursday is going to broadcast from at the beginning of the year. So I'll be reminding everybody at the last few ones of this year that that's our new page, and I'll send notifications out. But join Thinking Thursday with Miss B. If you're someone who's experiencing those negative emotions that are overwhelming, the anxiety, the fear, the depression, and need help from a mental health professional, I'm here as well. My number is 682-272-3949. Reach out. I'm here to help. And remember, mental health is health. So take care of your health today. See you next week.